We are recording. All
Ooh,
right. So, good day, everybody. Welcome to a new podcast. We call it the Senate. I think we can stick with the Senate for now. Senate or the Senate. Senate is in session, but basically, this is the Senate, right? I am Neil Hoyt, and along with me, some of you may know us from school. Some of us may know Derek from. He's the leader, founder, owner of G Syndicate. He is a person that gets very incendiary on social media when it comes to certain topics. But so, who are we and what are we doing here? Derek, first, let us. I can let you start. Who are you and what are we trying to accomplish here? I would just jump in and add in my 2 cents.
okay. Well, Derek Marshall, that's me. I'm a teacher, a musician, parent, uh, divorcee, I'll call it. Um, yeah, so I am a little well seasoned, if you could kind of pick that up for the beard. Um, had my fair share of radio interviews, very interested in getting into that, but this is my first time doing the whole podcasting, so this is a little different for me. Um, and I'm happy to be doing it with you, my brother. Um, it's something different, and we talked about this, so I am
For
happy that
years. I
yeah
feel I
that we're
mean I
able to
feel
do
like we've
this.
been talking. Yeah, man. I mean I feel like we've been talking about something like this for a long time, and then we've been friends. We're not gonna say the years because you did say the season, right? But we've
Seasons.
been friends for decades, and just like you, I haven't been married. I'm not a divorcee, but I have had my share of
Yeah.
I am a monogamous person. I'm always in committed relationships, and you know many have failed. Some have succeeded, and some have failed for various reasons. But yeah, we wanted to create a space where we were toying with what we were about, if we're going to be talking about, is this going to be about men, is this going to be about relationships, what is this going to be about? And I think in the end, I think for two men that are over the age of 40, I would say, right, I like I like to think of it of this is like there's a hill, right? This is a mountain, and you start from
We going up.
zero
We going up.
to 40, and right now I think we have enough experience between the two of us to be on the very pinnacle of that mountain, and then all downhill from here. So basically, what we're going to be talking. Basically, what this podcast is about is to create a space for people that we want people that are kind of understanding that they have tendencies, they have toxic behaviors, or they have identified toxic behaviors, and they want to either improve themselves or kind of improve their relationships, right? We are by no means experts. We are by no means relationship gurus. However,
At
I
all.
think that we have a lot as men, for sure, to explain how we see it and how we want to deal with it, right?
Yeah,
So
because
Derek,
that,
go
that
ahead.
that's important because you generally don't get the male perspective of stuff like that because we don't really share as men,
Yeah.
particularly as a Caribbean man.
Oh,
It is
good.
not necessarily something that we are very forthcoming about.
Mm.
Within the Caribbean context, is a case of I can drink a rum and just forget about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
Have sex with something strange.
yeah, you know what I mean, and go forward. But
Mm.
I think a forum like this gives us a bit more scope to really talk through stuff and offer that male perspective, as you said, as two men, two young men.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. I because
Yeah.
yeah, that's very important to know.
Yeah. Two young men who've had their fair share of experiences, and as you said, the
Fathers
up
too.
and they don't have fathers as well. We are able to offer some insight and receive some insight as well. So if we here, we finally get to this point. Um, it's a blessing. I feel good about it. So hopefully we got a few more of these to do, and this isn't the first and last.
Yeah. So you see, I want you all know that Derek giving these radio answers, right? What you're trying to do is get him to understand it's a podcast, right? He giving some nice, succinct answers, but hopefully, as the show goes on, as we do episodes, we will think. So, anyhow, who is this for? Who is this for? I would say this would be for people that are, as I said, looking to improve themselves, identify toxic behaviors. You know, we're trying to create a space that is not filled with insults, filled with the barbs, filled with the like. We want open-minded people, right? Like for me personally, I could share a bit of my journey as a man, as a father. I feel as though that I do have toxic behaviors, toxic mentalities, things that I put on myself, you know, in terms of my thinking and how I process things because of the challenges of life. And I kind of obviously I'm challenged and dealing with that. No, a lot of people have their own struggles as well, and they're afraid to even do the work to try to get better, or they probably just, you know, are content where they are. But I think that we can create a space where we can have the dialogue. You could tell, well, sorry, Thomas, you want to address because I think this is very important because you have first tell the people what you've been putting out there on Facebook recently, kind of because
Yeah.
people don't know that's kind of the breadcrumbs, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
as a precursor. So just
Yeah,
let them know like what that was about and what kind of topics you would like to address and we would like to get out of this for the people.
yeah. We. I'm thinking in terms of growth, having that open discussion. I kind of dropped a little bit, as you said, some breadcrumbs on Facebook. It kind of exploded into something else really expect. Um, and I'm grateful for that because it was about initiating discussion. Um, and I got a lot of messages, both to the comments on Facebook. They were specifically worded, to kind of incite a little bit of reaction, um, trigger a few people. You use a certain set of buzzwords and catchphrases, and you find out people latch onto those and they run with them. So it kind of got people thinking, people moving in a certain way and discussing, and that was the real point to the whole thing, to get people to discuss. And I found that it's something people look forward to. People will message me outside of that, when is the next topic coming, what is the next topic, we get him one tomorrow. So I was kind of thinking I would do it every Monday, then I had to go from Monday to Monday, Wednesday, and then I had to put another topic today because people kind of like clamoring, yeah, we want a little bit more of that. And then you find people want to have the discussion. You know, I don't know if it is a case where people want to have the discussion or if they just want to get the views out there. But we are here trying to create that space where people can have the discussion. So we could talk respectfully, we could agree to disagree, but at some point we need to kind of create that greater understanding so people can understand, all right, this is my position and that's where he's coming from or that's where she's coming from. You don't always have to agree, but you can, all right, that's your point, that's my point. At least we know. So going forward, we know how we can address it, how we can deal with certain things when they come up.
Yeah, man. I completely agree, right? Like I would say with your Facebook comments and posts, yeah, I could see that it was meant disingenuous was one of the words that came up, but it was I could see, and all jokes aside though, I do think that it and I made it in one of the posts, a comment where I think some of the
Yeah,
language needs to be kind of
it's sort of
like,
coached a little bit.
what does it mean to yeah, what not even cultured, but when we say submit, what does that mean to submit to your
Right,
partner? Then
right.
it says the value of a man. We've been talking about this for months. What is there such a thing as high value man? This is one of these buzzwords, sorry. And then we have settling. So I feel as though part of the thing that this series would help to do, this podcast would help to do, is to help kind of put clarification to what we mean by submission, what we mean by settling, what we mean by some of these buzzword terms, and kind of get other men to weigh in on what they think it means. The discussion is not only for men because there are women that have questions like that or even have strong opinions on these things. They can weigh in on it as well and give their opinion as to what these terms mean. Because I think that there's a divide where they say, like, for example, I have a friend. We communicate often. She lives overseas, and there's always talk of submission. She has no problem submitting to her mate,
Hmm.
but obviously, and a man has no problem with a woman being submissive. But for some reason, and we've talked about this often, being in me and you, where
Yeah.
women seem to think that this is, I can go put on a leather gimp suit
Yeah.
and
But here's the
behave
thing.
a certain way,
They don't mind the leather suit,
or
From
it's
the
the other
discussion,
stuff, is
from
the
the
other
discussions,
stuff.
they don't mind. It seems as if women don't mind. And one woman said that point blank. They don't mind a little
Most of
S&M. You know what I mean? They
mhm.
don't mind submitting in that regard, which is weird because you kind of you're gonna trust somebody to do something like that, but you're not gonna trust them in with regard to making decisions and stuff like that. Um,
Mm.
so it's a matter of kind of defining those terms. I think that's where we need to start because and I kind of threw them out there and I didn't bother to get into the back and forth and kind of discuss them or break down the terms because I didn't want to do that. I wanted to see the reactions to those words from people. So you
Mhm.
as you call some of them before, settling. Settling is a word that
Yeah.
kind of triggers some people this morning. Submission. Whenever that
And,
word came up in every conversation,
yeah.
and that is another.
Independent.
Independence is another one. Those words that kind of like get people's back up. People
Mhm.
start saying, wait, you may go submit to man what I mean. You know what I mean? I was listening to something only today, and the guy was asking this woman if she had a problem saying the word obey in her wedding vows, love, honor, and obey. And that was, she said she had no problem with it, right? Um, but I witnessed with my own two eyes a situation where the word obey nearly choked a bride. You know what I mean? Um, and I guess we kind of look at things from with our own backgrounds, our own perspective, our own conditioning, our own socialization. So when we hear certain words, a word like submit, sub,
Obey. You're supposed to
obey,
obey a teacher,
yeah, or
obey your
obey
mother
your
and father.
parents. So people look at those things and say, obey, but hear my mother or hear my father, that kind of approach to it. And again, I just left those terms out there. I didn't bother to kind of break them down or look into them. And I'll tell you, Neil, I've been in relationships where I was, I had the dominant role, I guess you could say. And, but there's a difference between being dominant and being abusive, right?
Domineering.
Or domineering, you know? And I feel as if people conflate the two terms. I kind of get caught up and think that to be submissive means to be dominated, or somebody handing down the law to you. Uh, so now you hear people saying the word partnerships, relationships, you know what I mean? Um, and again, another one of those terms that people throw out, but what does it really mean? So hopefully across the next couple of shows, we'll be able to kind of get into these topics and break them down a little bit and have a little bit of back and forth. Hopefully we can invite some people in to be part of the discussion as well.
Yeah. So basically, just to let everybody know, don't mind how it looks right now. It took us a long time to get to this point. Let me just put it like that. But anyhow, the point is, in terms of aesthetics, this is pre-recorded, but obviously, we want to go live. We also want to be able to have a chat in there and take on any comments or queries people would have, obviously in tandem with other platforms on social media, so that we can engage people as much as possible about these things. Because um, as I said, this is not only about relationships, it's not only about men, this is about empowering adults. Empowering because there's no harm but, right? Like I find a lot of us, so not to sound like a sage, but I kind of have an understanding of what life is about. Life is about passing on knowledge, right? Like throughout all of nature, we pass on knowledge. Every creature passes on knowledge. We started in water as single cell organisms, and then over generations and generations and generations. We came out the water, we breathed, we had gills, and then we shed them. I'm not a scientist, but it takes a process. And I think that for us, our job here is to procreate. I mean, men and women to procreate for our species, teach them how to not blow up the world or how not to kill each other and perpetuate our our race or species, right? So having said all of that, I feel as though our job here is to impart knowledge from our own experiences, as well as to have discussions with people about how to be better adults. When we came up, I mean, you and I, we have a similar situation in that we came from single parent homes. We had a mother raising us. And, not going to get into that right now, but obviously, us as men were raised by women. And then us as men having to function in society to understand what it means to be a man, we obviously had to find our examples of what to follow,
Yep.
right? And a lot of people, men and households, or they came from a two-parent household, but they were no handed down guidelines other than what they had seen. And some of these parents, I'm not saying they were toxic, I'm not saying they were good or bad or indifferent. I'm just saying that there's no book written on how to be an adult. There's you literally, some of us are thrown into the fire and trying to figure it out. Some of us are still figuring it out. Some of us will never figure it out. But the point is, I feel as though that if you are interested in just being a better person, a better adult for
Yep.
yourself and for your partner and for whatever you want in your life, then we can have it. Sure, there and now you're not. We're both single men. We are both in our careers hustling and grinding and trying to get things done. But in the end, um, we want to be the best versions of ourselves. We struggle just like anybody else. We're not purporting to be experts, but I think that once we are open-minded individuals. I think that we do have our grounded principles, and to our core, we know what we are and who we are and what we are about. But everything around that is a part of varying experiences and ideologies and that kind of thing. And it's just kind of get that discussion going. So I'm glad we created this space because I see it as being helpful to us individually and then to everybody else listening. It's not to trigger anyone. If you're triggered, I don't know what to tell you. If you don't agree, that's fine too. If you agree, that's fine too. But we're not going to attack anybody, or we will try very hard not to come over as attacking anyone or any gender or any
Yep.
lifestyle, because there's nothing said that you have to be with anyone. If you want to be single, that's fine. If
Yep.
you want to, if you want to be married, that's fine. If you want to, whatever you want to do, the point is that you are not in a space of negativity or toxicity and being bitter and not understanding why. So yeah, I almost want to get into. I just want to. I want to give them a little something.
Well, let's
I'm
do that
thinking
then.
about. I'm thinking about first things first. I think what better way to start it than the word submission, right? And I think that this is not only for this episode because I think submission and what it encompasses and what men think it means versus what women thinks it means and how we go about it are two different things. Now, um, I can turn this over to you. You are going to give your opinion as to what submission means. I will either agree, disagree, or tell you what I think it means, and then we could go from there.
All right. Submission, the dictionary meaning of that. Let me just, I had to Google it just now so that we use the dictionary, right?
Uh-huh.
And it will tell you the act or fact of accepting or yielding to a superior force or to the will or authority of another person. And
Already I
then,
triggered.
and then,
Already I triggered.
and then the example they use, the example they use of using it in a sentence, as they would say in school, it says they were forced into submission. So, so you see, immediately the word submission has some serious connotations, right? Because when you use a word like forced, nobody wants to be forced to do anything,
Free
right?
will,
No,
that's what we have.
and nobody wants to be forced to do anything, um, because immediately you feel like a child, you know. Um, and the challenge people have, particularly for women and modern women, would be that, shoot, I went to school, I learned like anybody else, I achieved like anybody else. Why should I now then be forced? Yeah, note the word that they use, the example, forced to submit to somebody, right? And I think I saw that in one or two of the comments on Facebook, you know. So that word is very, very
Problematic.
divisive. Divisive. Let me say divisive. Problematic is another word. Yeah,
Right.
that you want to
I
use.
like problematic. I know divisive, but problematic for me. Anytime you bring
Yeah,
that to anyhow, you
yeah,
continue.
yeah. That word is definitely when you use that, you're about to start something. Um, for me, I've never seen it like that. Um, in terms of the man woman perspective, I've never looked at it as that. I've never looked at it as a case of forcing anybody to do anything. Um, because at the end of the day, you really can't.
You
You know,
can't.
you can't force somebody to do something that they don't want to do. That's slavery, and that is a whole other topic that we really ain't qualified to deal with. I left the
Definitely
history
not.
at secondary school. You know what I mean? So I don't want people to think. Let me. I don't know. What would be a better word to use instead of submit? Um,
For me, I like the term. Okay, so I like leadership. The reason why I prefer that terminology to submission is because, as you rightly said, the connotations that brings up. Even listening to it, like I don't want somebody to. And I've had these conversations with women because women, you put out quote would hear the word submission and say, I have no problem in submitting to a partner that I trust, right?
yeah,
That someone
yeah,
can. But you see, I have no problem in submitting to someone that can lead
correct.
because I think, and I don't want to speak for women here, so I'm going to speak as a man, and I'm going to speak from my perspective. Um, in a relationship, it is a partnership. I agree that a relationship is a partnership. Like, everything, their decision makings, but at the end of the day, there are situations where, like, let's break it down even to its base. There's male energy and there's female energy. There's masculine energy and feminine energy, right? And a male or masculine energy is one of leadership, whereas energy is more so, I don't want to say submission, but for lack of a better term, submission. And that does not mean that the man is there saying, you wash my dishes, fold my clothes, cook my food, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I see it as you're on a ship, you're on a vessel, right? Or you have a team. Any analogy you want to use where you have one person at the head and you have people that have to make, whether it be a team dynamic or a ship or whatever to function. I can use the ship analogy, right? You're on a ship, you and I are on a ship, 10 of us are on a ship. All of us can be captain,
Yeah,
right?
somebody
All
got
of
to
us
lead.
cannot, somebody has to lead. No, the way I see the dynamic between men and women is that I liken it to a king and his queen that advises. I don't know if you're familiar. We all watched the movie 300, where Leonidas was the king and his queen
Yeah,
let him lead because at the end of the day, she can advise, like, I don't think this is the right decision, or I think this is the right decision, or whatever. But if Leonidas say, well, we're getting a war, then if that is your decision, I will support that.
I like the fact that you bring up kings and queens. Even if you look from a historical perspective, now, and you got King Henry, and he had
Oh
his
boy.
queen. He had his queen. He also had a
uh,
mistress, by the way. His mistress was so influential that she actually used to sign official documents, and she would sign them Henri Diane. She had that much clout as a mistress. So even though we're looking at it from a perspective where, yeah, she wasn't queen, but she was still influencing the king, right? She still had power to make
More power than the
decisions,
queen.
more power than the queen. She had power to influence decisions at parliamentary level, at governmental level. Shoot, women have incited wars. You know what I mean? Um, so I like the term when you say masculine and feminine energy. Um, let's look at, you said partnership. Let's look at it this way. Um, we're not saying, let's be very, very clear. Let's be very, very clear. We're not saying that men are superior to women. We're not saying that women are superior to men. That's not it. What
Exactly.
we are saying, though, what we are saying, there's certain things that men are good at, there's certain things that women are good at.
And
That is just a fact.
that is a fact of nature.
That is
That is a
just
fact
a
of
fact.
nature. In every subspecies on this planet, every species, there is, for almost all. I'm not a biology major. I never, I left that alone, just like history back in secondary school with you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you can't. Women will always be, and I always liken it like this: women are nurturers, natural born nurturers. I'm not saying men can't be nurturers, but if you were to seek out a nurturer, right, whether it's a man or a woman, you would gravitate toward a woman. Like my son gravitates toward me when it's time to run around, when it is time to for him to see how it is to be a man, when it is anything that is activity based, anything that is running around. And I never had to teach him that. It was never a situation where I was always running around. His mother would say, you know what, I don't want to run around with you or whatever. He just naturally
Yeah.
gravitated toward me for activities, physical
Yeah.
activities.
When he falls
Meanwhile,
and
now,
gets hurt,
when he falls and gets hurt, or he's afraid, or he is scared, or he is sick, he goes. There was this one time he was ill. He was at my house. He was ill. My mother was here, and he was really sick. We didn't understand what was going on. So I was saying, let me take him home. He didn't want me to take him home because he wanted to be. He would leave his grandmother. He would leave my mother. Right. So it's like I tried to say, all right, come with me, son. Come with me. Everything will be all right. He's like, no, I don't want you, and not letting go his grandmother. And then eventually his mother came, and he latched on to her. So there are simple things. I am not saying that a man can't be a nurturer. I'm not saying a woman can't be a provider. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying that conversations need to be had. And if you, as a woman, want to be the leader, and you find a man that is willing to submit to that dynamic, and you drive the ship or drive the car or whatever analogy you want to lead the team or whatever, so be it. I'm not saying that dynamic will not work versus a man woman dynamic where the man is the head, and no. I'm saying that you and I, me and a woman, we can't be driving in this car, which is the analogy of a ship or a car, and we're going on the street or going around the ocean on course, and then I am staring and she is tugging the shit from me. And we two fighting, wrestling for
Westbrookie.
control. Well, that's something else I want to mention, right? So we are very old friends. We have a lot of inside jokes. Some jokes you may get, some jokes you may not. That's a basketball reference. But yeah, we try to keep it lighthearted amongst the serious discussions. But yeah, I mean, and I would even say, and it's funny, I can put myself out there a bit, but even as a man, I have had women tell me they want me to lead, and I have found myself not understanding what that means
Mhm.
in terms of striking that balance of not being, because I have never been a man that say, well, when I come home, my woman got food cooked for me. I probably
Yeah.
can name on one hand how many women have continuously cooked for me. And it was never me saying I wanted some boy cook for me. Whereas the older heads in older generations, it was like when I come home, my dinner gotta be ready. Matter of
Yeah.
fact, I bet eat before news. But that is not what we are talking about, because that goes into the domineering and the unhealthy practices within a
Yeah.
marriage. Because you don't have a partner, you don't have a wife, you have a slave. What we are saying here is that at the end, there's there are things that happen within a relationship where decisions need to be made. Now, we can have a discussion about it. I can tell you, well, babe, I think I am going to invest money into X. You, as my partner, could come and tell me, I don't think X is the right way to diversify our money. You should put it in Y. And here are the reasons why, or go and look at the reasons why. I will do my research and make a decision. Now, if I make my decision based on if I make my decision contrary to what she did, and it was based on not doing my research or my evidence, and we end up in a sticky situation because of it, then that's my poor leadership.
Yeah, correct.
But this is not
Correct.
you submitting. I never wanted a woman to submit to me.
But
I
here's the
never
thing.
wanted that.
Here's the thing, Neil. Being a leader also involves knowing your own strengths and weaknesses. You know, I got a good friend. Well, we have a good friend, my boy Justin Brown, and
Hmm.
he would say he said his old man or his mother told him, intelligent people know their boundaries, know the bounds of their intelligence and their wisdom and their knowledge, right?
Know what they don't know.
They know what they know what they don't know. Um, and you as a man, not even a man, as a person, you need to know what you can handle and what you can't handle. So coming back to your reference just now with in diversifying income and stuff like that, if you as a male in this relationship, and you know, for example, that you're terrible at money, that you can get $100 and you can try your best now to buy a car with $100, maybe, just maybe, it's not best for you to handle the money, and that you find your partner who hopefully will be more fiscally responsible than you are to manage the funds, right? And that too is an act of leadership, right? I was watching a program, and the guy on the program said he essentially gives his paycheck to his girlfriend. You know what I mean? Because she's the person who manages his money better than he does. So in that regard, he knows, shoot, if I get this money in my hand, we ain't making it to next week. So
Rent and paid, food in the
let's
kitchen.
turn off. We hungry. Everybody pretty street. So it's best for me to give this girl. Let me give my partner. Let her deal with that. That way we make it to the next week, right? And by the same token, because we hear about gender roles and all that stuff. By the same token, if you know you can't cook, shoot, don't cook for me, you know.
All right, dang.
Don't be running down the house talking about you as a woman and you're supposed to cook. Nah, I got it, sweetie. I can
Yeah,
handle it.
yeah. And if none of two we could cook, we will order food.
We're ordering. Except in these
Yeah,
times, over the pandemic, everything shut down. We will have to starve. But
you
you know what
gotta
I
learn.
mean? We gotta learn. So leading, it, part of the process of leading is knowing what you can do and also knowing what you can't do and being willing to acknowledge that.
Yeah, self acceptance. I completely agree. And I think that I can only speak for myself. I have struggled with that in terms of leadership because, first things first, I have been in situations with women and relationships where, you know, I come from a household with a strong woman. My mother, she's a very strong woman. My grandmother was a very strong woman, right? There was hardly any male influences in my day to day household. So I never saw how a man operated within the confines of a domestic situation. Yeah. So I saw everything from my mother. So now when it came time for me to date, I don't want to encroach on women and their, I don't want to say free will, but I don't want to say, well, tonight we eat in this place or tonight we eat in that place or whatever. Like, I felt as though even the most menial and trivial of situations, I would prefer the woman to say, I want to do X or Y, and I be
Uh-huh.
the one to say, cool, I cool with it. And I'll be honest and say, like, I have, I have lost a good set of relationships based on my inability to lead. And it's only now that I've got older that I've realized that because, and I'm still trying to figure out because, again, it is not about imposing your will on someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you have to have these hard conversations with your partner. You say, "Well, sweetheart, I love you. This is where it is. This is where we are. What are and there are exercises to do too. What are your strengths and weaknesses? You write them down. You write down what you think your partner's strengths and weaknesses are. Notes, and it's kind of you do a Venn diagram. of everything on the cross section, you kind of mitigate and delegate the task,
Yeah.
and you come to a mutual understanding. But it's like if we are in a relationship and they say, "All right, babe, I got the cooking, but you got to fold the clothes. I got the garbage, you got the dishes. I got the finances, you have the grocery shopping."
Yeah.
If that is what, shoot, if you got the landscaping and the gardening and everything like that, and I have the mopping and cleaning of the house, because some people like to do those things individually. If that is what you want to do, and we are cool with giving that, then it's fine. Then I can't go in the garden and tell my wife, "Yeah, babe, you cutting. I don't know how you cutting these hedges." And likewise, you can't come to me and tell me, "Well, I don't know how you sweep them up in here," because at the end of the day, I have told you my strengths and weaknesses. You have relinquished your that subsection of a domestic situation to me, and I've delegated, or you on the responsibilities of certain things in a domestic situation. Then that is your role, and this is my role. I find the problem is that we give up rules, or we don't have these conversations, and then we critique when
Ah,
rules are being executed.
yeah.
My
That's it
fault.
there.
So, and I'm not calling out men or women, because I find both of us are guilty of doing it.
Yeah.
Where, my wife is, she is the person that goes to groceries. She brings home groceries. We created a shopping list on WhatsApp or whatever, any medium or any sort of way, write to list, whatever. She goes and buys whatever. And then when she comes, I say, "Well, shoot, you ain't buy this particular cheese I like. You ain't buying the apples. You ain't buying the bananas. What are you doing?" But we've already created, we've already assigned roles, and we've already created a system to facilitate these roles. So no, it is not my place to supersede our established dynamic and our established roles and behaviors and procedures, for me to just say, "You are not doing your job properly."
Yeah. The real crux of it is that open, not only open, but open and honest communication.
Oh, oh,
You know what I
oh,
mean? Open
oh.
and honest
Time out,
communication.
time out, time out, time out, time out. You use the word honest, right? And I think it is important for people to understand that honesty is not only third person. Like, I don't only expect people around me to be honest. I have to be honest with myself.
Yeah.
Like, continue your point.
Yeah. Because, as I said, honest with yourself. You need to know you. You know what I mean? You need to know, again, the scope of your knowledge base, etc. Um, so if you know you like certain things, say so. Say so. I had a very good female friend that would tell you, if I want a yellow polka dot dress, don't bring me a black polka dot dress. What was the point of asking? You know what I mean?
Facts.
What was the point of asking? And me too. I came, as you said earlier, um, from a single parent house, also a very strong woman, and I grew up for a very long time with an aunt as well, also a single parent, very very strong, very independent women. So you don't want to, as you say, encroach on that, because my mother's a woman. If she decide, what, and here want painting, she can paint it.
Damn.
She can paint it. That's just how she's get down. And even if she asks and they don't do it in her time, it
It's gonna
paint.
be done.
I will just come and find it done. You know what I mean? She might be a little annoyed or whatever, but I will come and find it done. That's how she got down. So then when I got, as a young man, I got married and stuff like that. I got married at 24 years old. I went into that relationship, as you said, not fully understanding how to lead. You know what I mean? And then not understanding what was required of me as a leader. And, you know, first marriages is how they go. And,
I have never been married, but I have a lot of friends that
right.
have been married and
Exactly.
had been married.
Exactly. So, and I remember part of the counseling session and everything. And the counselor said, she doesn't want to lead. She would lead at work because she has to. That's what she's forced to do. But when she comes home, she doesn't want to lead. And it took me a long time to grasp that concept. You know, I always figured, as you said, it'd be a case where it's like we want to do, and because maybe a little bit more easygoing, we tend to be a little bit more laid back. If you're comfortable, I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
So call for what
Especially
you
when it
want.
comes to, especially when it comes to trivial things like what to
Yeah,
eat and what
yeah,
we
them kind of
watching
things.
tonight.
Call for what you want. I can make it work. I can be comfortable. You know what I mean? As opposed to saying, "All right, sweetheart, I decide that tonight we can just stop in at home. We can sit up on the floor. We can watch a movie, drink some wine, eat some food or something, and that's the date for the night." Um, you you wouldn't. You always felt as if doing that would be domineering. Doing something like that would be saying, try to impose your will, force somebody into submission, as opposed to saying just taking leadership of the situation. Um, and again, it took a long time to kind of realize women generally want you to kind of lead the situation
Sure.
like that. Not impose your will, but lead.
Lead, yeah, and it's so funny because I've had discussions with older women recently. As I said, I feel as though the last 3 years of my life has been an evolution for me. I still struggling, I still trying to find my way, but I've had conversations with a lot of women, young women, older women, women, Barbadian women. The only thing I have not really kind of gotten the litmus test for is women outside of our race, right? I haven't had those discussions, but um, I find that women, when you answer them and you have the honest discussion, women are tired of leading, right? We know what it is in the world today. Again, I don't mean to speak for women, I'm speaking for what I've been told. Women, older women, younger women, they are tired of always having to go into the world, be that manager, be that boss, be that leader in a male dominated world, or even if it is not being a leader, having to claw and fight to be on the same level as women, as men, sorry. So when they come home, sometimes they don't want to have to deal with certain things. But like um I again, I can only speak from my experience. In the experience of having a single household, I've spoken to a woman who raised a single child, and you know, there were times where she wanted to shut off. She wanted a man to, she obviously has to come home now after being in her managerial position. I have to cook food and prepare food, particularly for herself, for her mate, and for her children or whatever, because she feels some sort of obligation to old type of stereotype of my woman dynamic. But really and truly, sometimes she just wants to come home and just relax and have somebody take. You know what, babe, I got you. I can take care of this, right? And I feel as though communication, I find the hard conversations, we get enamored with the the physical as well as the connection. Yeah, man, she cool. We have good conversation. We kicking it, everything nice, everything sweet. The sex is good. The conversation is good. She's a good companion to travel with. She's a good companion to things. She's a smart person. But we don't have those hard conversations to say, look, you see me? I suck with finances, right? I can need you to handle that.
Yeah.
Like you may suck too, but you ain't as bad as me. I need you to take care of that. Or you know what, husband, I don't need you to go. I literally had a woman tell me, I've been in a relationship where a woman told me, I'm the type of person, as a man, I wash, when it comes to laundry, I wash it everything from what you got on to where you got on to what in the laundry basket, whatever. Right? That is just me. I like clean clothes. As we're saying, take it off, put it in wash. I can, and wear this today, wear this tomorrow type of
Okay,
dude,
take it
right?
out a snippet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The sniff test, right? I try to avoid that for going out, right? I mean outside my house. I don't mean out as in going out. I mean if I leave in my yard, I must have on something fresh. Yeah. So that's me. That's a role I do. So I've had conversations with women here, we on that level or whatever, and I would say, let me tell you something, right? If we live together, I ain't folding a stitch of clothes. I wash everything for you. I wash the sheets, the curtains, I wash. But you see, the folding of clothes, I hate to fold clothes. So if we could come to a mutual, because then, certain things people have no problem with, and some people like, nah, that ain't for me. So if you say, look, I ain't got no problem with you folding, with you washing clothes, I have folded clothes, right? If you say, man, I really hate folding clothes too, but I really hate washing clothes too, then meet me halfway. You understand what I mean?
Mm.
But once we establish that dynamic that I washing the clothes and you folding the clothes, I ain't gonna tell you how to do your job. You don't tell me how to do my job. And we go forward.
The challenge here, though, Neil, is that when do people discover these things or
Oh,
have these conversations? Generally, is a case where people discover these things when they are already living together, already hooked up, right? Child,
child,
then that's
child
it.
already,
No,
child,
that's it. No.
child there, the ring,
We,
big name on the
we
mortgage.
did this together, and then we discover we decide we can finally have a sit down and discuss this thing. Only to come to find out you don't like folding clothes and I don't like folding clothes neither. So because
So
we come
no,
out the washing machine, we just pet the by bed. When it's time to
every
sleep, just lay it to the side and lay up half the bed. You know what I mean?
facts, facts
And
on
every day we
facts.
just come and search through the pile of photo of a boxer and a party or something
I
and
said,
see
we
these ain't
roll,
good
we
and we
rock,
roll.
rough
You
dry,
know what
rough
I mean?
dry, rough.
Rough way, because I don't like pressing and you don't like pressing either. So we just take them out, shit them out, and roll. So I think these are conversations, and I found that later in life as I began to get a bit more seasoned, you know what I mean? Um, and that these are conversations that might seem like these
Trivial,
conversations ain't sexy, you know what I mean?
mundane,
These
nine pillar
conversations
talk.
is pillow talk, these conversations ain't sexy, and this ain't like, so we going, baby. These are their kind of conversations, you know what I mean? You put them first, then that cute boy, that, you know.
You
Let
never
the
see that.
folk.
You never see that in the happily ever after any
You
movies.
have never seen that in a romantic comedy. You've never seen, so you like the folklore. Two people say don't having dinner. So you like the folklore. You like the press. You like the earn. You've never heard a couple on TV have that conversation. And unfortunately, those are conversations that people have only after they're 6 months, a year in, and then they realize, yo, we stop. We stop.
All of a sudden, we ain't talking because dishes ain't
Yeah.
washing regularly, garbage still in there.
Yeah.
You know what I
You
mean?
got
Like,
two
like,
bags of
like
garbage pile up and nobody
no,
want to carry them out.
nobody ain't cleaning the house. Like, I agree, right? And I think in a setting where, especially if you're talking about living together, I would even take it a step further. We're talking about domestic things. We're talking about these kind of things, but I'll actually take you one step further. I think there are certain conversations that need to be had very early on in a dating process when it comes to compatibility and who, like, things easy, right? What we do, yeah. So how bad you like sex, or what kind of movies you like, or what kind of foods you like, what's your favorite color, all these, you know, when we were younger men,
The,
them is
the,
things I used
them is the
to,
sexy conversations.
but
Those are the
nobody
sexy
wants
ones.
to say it. Nobody wants to say it. And I actually had a friend tell me this one time. She's gonna start having dating men and asking them, like, the next date she goes on, the next real date she goes on, very early in the conversation, like within the first 4 days, is like, yeah, so what's your trauma? How you plan to heal from it? Like,
Wow.
what
Yeah,
like
like
those types of
intense.
you know what I mean? Like those kinds of, because no, I'm serious, because when you look at it, right, everybody is carrying around baggage,
Oh yeah.
especially the older you get, right? Whether you're married, you have the perfect life, whether you are single and you, all men are dolls, all women can date, whatever your thought process is, the fact remains everyone is carrying baggage. We're human. Emotions get hurt. Experiences are not always the best. We go through things, right? And it is very important to find out early on what what is the uncomfortable thing that you don't want to address, or what is the thing that you're addressing. So I have my personal demons, right? I have my own set of issues. And I'll be honest, sometimes I'm very active in taking care of that issue or those issues. And sometimes I slack. Sometimes it's like I good, or, you know, you Superman, shoulders broad. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
shrug that off and keep it bouncing, right? Because men ain't supposed to cry.
Yeah.
But but it is very important for men and women to have that discussion. Like, yeah, it's all cute. You look good naked. I ain't gonna lie to you, but and you know when to use the
How we
right.
can spend this money we got? You know what I mean?
You understand? Like, what are your long term goals? What type of person are you in these situations? Can you lead? And it's not easy conversation, as you said. It's not the set. Then you don't see Brad Pitt and Gwyneth Paltrow discussing that when the music started crescendo and then
Yeah.
looking at it. Then gone off into set, but them don't show you three kids down the road and the debt collector knocking because they ain't paying the mortgage. You don't see that, and I think that if you are serious, I think if people are serious about having committed long term relationships, if you're just looking to have a casual relationship and keep it moving, then fine, right? But if you're looking to get committed to someone, I think that you have to do your due diligence and have these difficult conversations.
I have them
Um,
early.
I have them
Have
early.
them early. And have them honestly. If you know you about certain things, just say so up front. You know what I mean? Just say
Facts,
so.
facts. And
Because
we ain't talking about and not to cross you, but not the like what wouldn't do in bed or
yeah,
I want
move
men and women
away.
to this sex thing. This I mean, yes, sex is instant gratification. We all love it. But I don't want people to keep falling into that trap of this is what is most important.
Yeah. We, Chris Rock got a skit where he says, when you meet somebody for the first time, you don't meet them, you meet the representative. Um, and that tends to be more true than we want to believe. Um,
Avatar.
but you need to kind of have, if you know you don't want children, say so. You'd be surprised to see you won't waste 6 months to a year if you
Mm-hmm.
have that discussion early, you know. Um, so say what you want, say what you, be clear. If you know you don't like partying on the weekend, say so. If you know that you ain't comfortable, that you's a homebody, but you girl going out on a Friday night, and you ain't comfortable with that, don't get with the woman, and then a year down the road you decide, I really about this here, or worse yet, marry the woman, and then decide, I really want you going out though. No,
Yeah,
that
you
is difference.
yeah, that is nonsense. Because at the end of the day, still people I find some of us get into relationships thinking the others will change. We like the person, we like the conversation, we like how they're built, we like their intelligence, we may even like how they lead or whatever, but we still go on the I can allow this and let it
Yeah,
slide because I can work with that. I can see if that can
you
get that
work it
change.
out. They can change that.
Like like you said, if a man tell you well here tune, right? I I ain't a party person. Party thing, that ain't for me. And you, as a woman, come and say, "Well, I like to party, I like to go, I like to enjoy myself." And you say, "Well, if you's my girl, you can't be going out." So then, thank you very much. Enjoy your
Everybody
life.
part ways.
Same way that if a man is not, if a woman wants a man to be, let's be honest, some men are womanizers, right? You know he's a flirty, friendly man, and he always the thing the man say. You say, well, you know what? I can't have you chatting up with so much girlfriends. You got Cindy as a girlfriend, Patricia as a girlfriend, and this body's your best friend, and that body's your best friend. I ain't into that. If the man tells you these are my friends, nothing more, nothing less, and you decide to believe that man, you cannot wait until you get the ring to say you always talking to Patricia,
Yeah,
you always talking to Cindy. The man
yeah,
tell you up what it is, and I find a lot of us we're to be honest we're shown earlier we're shown and told how certain things are to go. Some of us have issues of expressing ourselves, and some of us have issues in dealing with certain things. But for some of the things within us, we express whether verbally or through action.
yeah.
And you may want to see it, you may not want to see it, you may address it, you may not want to address it. But if you address it and the man tell you or the woman tell you that ABC is XYZ, then
Yeah.
you can't get vexed years down the
X.
line, months down the line, weeks down the line, when the man is sticking to the form The man tell you he's a duck and he's walking like a duck, and you
Good
say,
stuff.
well, why you don't walk like a pigeon?
And you vex. You know
And
what I
you
mean?
vex.
You know,
You stand mad.
I've been in situations where, you know, you go out and you see a guy, you carry out the girl and everything, and she ain't ready but the party ain't. But she come up because I don't know why. And then she stand up one side and she vexed, she sulking. You come up to party, you can't enjoy yourself because she's even worse when it's the other way around. When a girl goes out and she want to do her thing, you know, just party and enjoy herself. And then the man wants to say standing up, he face bad and he by the bar, he vexed because he ain't expect that when he come out, he girl gonna come out to party, he expect that they can come out and she gonna be up on the heat. They ain't working like that, the woman call the party. And she tell you she
Mind
gonna
you,
party.
mind you, in some of these situations, people meet these people in these elements. See
Exactly.
the person, but they're walking up, stink, 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 bending over, or on behind somebody walking up. I
But
say, yeah, boy.
suddenly,
So,
because the
yeah.
way you want them to give up all of that,
I
and you
remember
and,
one.
and you didn't state that up front. It's all right for you to state that up front, you know, and let her make that determination if she's gonna say, all right, he's a good, he is worth it enough. I can shelve that life, I can put away that life to be with this man. But you didn't ask for that.
No, you didn't
You
answer that.
you hook up with the woman with the expectation that that was gonna change.
Yeah, exactly.
You
And
know what I
there
mean?
was not discussion. There was we approaching the hour. I didn't even expect it
Yeah,
to go so. Um, trying to keep it to an hour because this is supposed to be our introductory episode.
yeah.
But there was I was at some place and guys were talking, and one guy said, I think they were showing around a woman. A woman, she was out in a party. She was scantily clad, and the man was like, "Who? That's you, girl?" Like, I guess the other guy was. He said, "That's you, girl." No, boy, my girl can never go. So, and I found it so perplexing to me because chances are a woman don't just decide
Nah,
as an adult. She dressing conservative. You meet the woman and know she going out next to you or with her girls or whatever, and she got on a boxy drop out and a belly out.
yeah.
Like she don't
That don't
all
just
of a
happen.
sudden go. Yeah, you don't just go from flowing dresses and jeans pants to all of a sudden showing off your body, unless you really do and even if you do, there's a transformation period in there. You may have been fat, you may not feel comfortable with your body, but you're now feeling comfortable with your body. The thing about it is, I feel as though you should have these discussions, even if you don't. You obviously can't in that situation where somebody has transformed their body. You kind of have these discussions during the transformation, right? Like you're looking good, or realize you're wearing certain things, or whatever, whatever. Does this make you feel uncomfortable? And if he says yes, it makes me feel uncomfortable. If the woman say, well, you know what, you gotta like it or lump it, you gotta make a decision, or I am going to try to change to appease you. But once a decision is made, hard or soft, it can't be you deciding to change how you dress to appease the man of your own volition. The man ain't asked you nor nothing, right? Or even if the man asked you said yes,
Yeah.
you decide to keep dressing scantily and it creating a friction and noise. Again, it goes back to having that discussion and decisions being made. Who is the leader and who in certain situations governing certain things, right? And I don't see it as, wrapping up things about submission. I don't see it as submission. I see it as leadership. I see it as a relationship. There are many facets to a relationship. I kind of think about it as a business. A relationship is a business. You have various departments in a business. You have marketing, you have procurement, you have accounting, you have middle management, you have upper management, you have the board. Shoot, you got interns because eventually you got children. You you have you have various departments within this business of your relationship. It is not, yes, there's a CEO, but the CEO is responsible for guiding the company to the betterment of the company,
And the
not to
CEO
boss
still
around.
got to meet with the board.
And the CEO still got to meet the board. So, and the thing about it is, we're talking about a man and a woman. So, if a man, for a woman, they have that discussion, they say, well, you, sweetheart, you're the CEO. You have final say on certain decisions. But if his management style ain't cutting it, you're getting before the board. Like there's
And
so many levels to it, right? Like there's I don't see it as a one sale, one size fit all thing. It is basically understanding that there are many facets to relationship. You can do better things than I can, and I can do better things than you. We figuring out and finding out what those things are, coming to a decision on who is going to take charge of from the mundane to the big decisions and big things. If there is something where I need your guidance, if we decide that I'm the leader, or if in this particular instance, or if we decide you're the leader in this particular instance, there's a discussion. That I ain't just come home and say, "Babe, look at my new car." And you're like, you
We
in
didn't
charge of
discuss this.
finances. Yeah, yeah. Unless we're millionaires, and even then, I just think that I understand it's triggering when you talk about submission, but it's about leadership. It's about leadership, and it's not a one. It is not a one.
Authoritarian decision.
Yeah, it's not a. It's to me it's situation based. If you want fully submit to your man and have him lead you and govern you and guide you, fine, right? I know men that lead their marriages, but the woman that's control the purse, control the bank account. You understand?
Yeah.
Nothing no Spain
And I've been in
unless
situations like that myself.
right. And it is simple that there is a I will submit to you in certain areas once you submit to me in certain
Yeah.
areas. Now, granted, these are the subgenres and subcategories of a relationship, but the big tentpole things are people like to talk about who cleaning the house and who eating food and who cooking and who washing dishes. And men usually the established dynamic or how people take it is that, yo, I want my food cooked. My food
Yeah.
is, oh baby, I'm
Well,
sorry.
when people hear that word submit, they tend to think barefoot and pregnant, and they don't think. I think somewhere along the line we gotta move past that kind of thinking or approaching it with that mentality of barefoot and pregnant. It is a case of discussion and as you say, leading, right?
Discussions, hard
Having
discussions.
the unsexy discussions about certain things. And I'll admit this, like I think we almost all the time, right?
Yeah,
Um, so let me put it this way: be your best version of yourself, right? Because women always say, "Hey, I have no problem submitting if there's something to submit to," and you can't fault them for that. You really can't fault them for that. So this is my word to the gentlemen: strive to be the best version of you, and then, and again, kind of speak with the women a little bit. You'll find that women have no problem submitting to you
it's true.
if
It
you are
comes
striving
that
to be the best version of yourself. If you make sure that, shoot, I in the gym and making sure I look a certain way, I got my money right, um, I sorting out certain things, I physically, mentally, spiritually in a good place, women will follow that. But if the women is a certain how you get it down, that ain't happening.
yeah. Well, we are out of time. This is our introductory episode. I do want to say that stemming out of this conversation, at some point I want to talk about you were talking to the men about being better men. Um, and I do want to address that at some point because men hear and see certain terms like self care. Like I find that self care is a term that is seen as feminine, right? Like
Yeah,
men don't talk about self care. What does self care mean? Oh, there's this feminine thing or whatever. But really and truly, everybody needs to take care of self. It doesn't mean going out there and
yeah,
getting pedicures and manicures and getting your eyelashes waxed. So why what this do? It may entail that. The fact
it
remains is
may.
what do you do, whatever you do as a man to take care of yourself, that you feel whole, confident, and you project a sense of self love. We can talk about that another time. Anyhow, thank you very much for listening to the very first episode of the Senate. Um, I don't know, Derek, you got any closing words?
Strive to be the best version of yourself.
Oh, I forgot to tell the people how often we can be doing this. Right now, I know for sure we got Tuesday nailed down. Tuesday at 9, I think we said, Derek.
Yeah,
Tuesdays at 9, we can go live. We're trying to add another day to that. I want to say Thursday, but don't hold us to that because we're still working that out. I have no problem with it, but sometimes the schedule may not line up. But for sure, we can do Tuesdays at 9 to start. So you can look out for us next Tuesday live. By then, we would have things looking a different sort of way. We can be live, we can have comments and, certain interactions going on within the comment section. So thanks a lot, Derek, for finally making this.
Yeah, man.
You
It was a while, but we get here.
Yeah. So anyhow, good night everybody. I can put this up on YouTube, Facebook. Anyhow, yeah. Good night everybody. Peace and love.
Peace.